There is a version of you that is not waiting. Right now, as you sit here, as your nervous system hums at whatever frequency it has settled into today, there is a parallel configuration of your own consciousness that has already crossed the threshold you are standing at. Not metaphorically, not as a comforting idea, as a structural feature of how quantum systems actually work. And tonight, something unusual is going to happen. You are going to make contact with that version. Not through imagination, through something more precise than that. Through the specific mechanism by which your nervous system encodes and broadcasts the frequency of who you are, and through the equally specific mechanism by which a different frequency, the one belonging to the you who already crossed, can be received. This is not a meditation on possibility. This is a transmission about physics, about neuroscience, about what actually happens inside a biological system when it encounters information that does not match its current state, and why that encounter, when it happens at the right depth, shocks the system into reorganization. Your nervous system is going to be different by the time this transmission ends. Not because of anything mystical, because of something precise. Because you are about to hear, at a level deeper than your thinking mind, from the version of yourself that lives on the other side of the gate you have been circling. So let's begin at the beginning. Let's begin with what a parallel self actually is, not as a science fiction concept, not as wishful thinking, but as the most rigorous thing quantum mechanics has ever suggested about the nature of identity and state. And then, let's talk about what it means to listen. Really listen. For just one night, and why one night is enough. The gate is already open. You just need to understand what you're walking through. There is a concept in quantum mechanics called the many worlds interpretation, and it is not fringe. It is not pseudoscience dressed up in physics language. It was formulated by Hugh Everett III in 1957 as a doctoral thesis at Princeton, and in the decades since, it has become one of the most seriously debated interpretations of quantum theory among physicists who spend their careers trying to understand what quantum mechanics is actually telling us about reality. The physicist David Deutsch, one of the founders of quantum computing, considers it the only interpretation that takes the mathematics seriously without adding extra assumptions. The physicist Sean Carroll at Caltech has written extensively on why the many worlds interpretation is not just plausible but, in his view, the most parsimonious reading of the quantum formalism. What does it say? It says that when a quantum system reaches a point of superposition, a point where multiple outcomes are physically possible, all of those outcomes occur. Not one is selected and the others vanish. All of them happen, each in its own branch of the universal wave function. The universe does not choose. It ramifies. It branches. Every quantum event that could go multiple ways goes all ways. And reality is the totality of all those branches simultaneously. Now here is where this stops being abstract and starts being about you. Your brain is not a classical computer. It is not a deterministic machine that processes inputs and produces a single fixed output. Your brain is a biological quantum system embedded in a body that is itself a quantum system. The neurons in your prefrontal cortex operate through electrochemical processes that, at the relevant scale, involve quantum effects. The proteins in your synapses fold and unfold in ways that are sensitive to quantum-level fluctuations. The microtubules inside your neurons, structures that the physicist Roger Penrose and the anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff have proposed as sites of quantum computation in the brain, operate at a scale where quantum coherence is not ruled out and may, in fact, be essential to how consciousness arises. This is not settled science. The Penrose-Hameroff orchestrated objective reduction hypothesis, which they call OR, is contested. But the contestation is scientific, meaning it is being argued about in peer-reviewed journals, not dismissed. And what is not contested is that your brain, like everything else in the physical universe, is a quantum system, subject to the same branching structure that quantum mechanics describes for every other physical process. Which means that the many worlds interpretation, if it is correct, applies to you. Which means that at every decision point, at every moment where your consciousness reached a fork, where you could have gone one way or another, both paths were taken. One version of you crossed. One version of you stayed. And those versions are not metaphors. They are branches of the wave function. They are as real in the physics as the branch you are currently experiencing. Your parallel self is not a fantasy. It is a structural consequence of quantum mechanics applied to biological consciousness. Now, here is the question this transmission is actually about. Can you make contact with that other branch? The honest answer, the one that lives at the edge of what physics currently allows us to say, is that we do not know. Everett's formalism does not include a mechanism for branches to communicate with each other. In the standard many worlds picture, the branches are causally isolated. Once they diverge completely. No signal passes between them. But here is what we do know. And this is where the science gets specific in a way that changes everything. If this is landing for you, here is something I want to offer before we go further. Have you spent years shielding yourself from other people's energy? Boundaries, releases, energy clearings, and still wake at 3 a.m., running someone else's anxiety? Those tools treat it as outside you. It's not. Your nervous system has adjusted to every room for so long, it forgot its baseline. The sealed timeline, a quantum guide to becoming untouchable by wrong frequencies, walks through the 5-step crossing. The adjusting pattern, the breaking point, the crossing itself, what stable feels like, and why old evidence shows up. Every tool you tried treated this as an outside problem. This one ends the adjusting pattern that made you a receiver in the first place. The longer you adjust, the harder it gets to come back to yourself. Open it tonight. It's in the pinned comment below. Now, back to the thread we were following. Your nervous system is not static. It is not locked into a single configuration. It is a dynamic, plastic, frequency-sensitive system that is constantly updating itself based on the information it receives. And the information that most powerfully updates your nervous system is not external information. It is not what happens to you. It is the internal signal that your own body generates when it anticipates a different state. This is the science of interoception, of predictive processing, of the way your nervous system models future states and uses those models to regulate present physiology. And this is where the parallel self becomes not a physics thought experiment, but a practical, neurological reality. Let me explain what I mean by that precisely. Your nervous system runs on a principle that neuroscientists call predictive coding. This was formalized by Carl Friston at University College London, and it is now one of the most influential frameworks in computational neuroscience. The basic idea is this: your brain is not a passive receiver of sensory information. It is an active prediction machine. At every moment, it is generating a model of what is about to happen, and it is comparing incoming sensory data to that model. When the data matches the prediction, the system is stable. When the data does not match, the system generates what Friston calls a prediction error, and it updates the model. This is how you learn. This is how you adapt. This is how your nervous system reorganizes itself in response to new information. Now, here is the part that most people miss. The predictions your nervous system makes are not just cognitive. They are not just thoughts about what will happen next. They are physiological. Your nervous system predicts your future state and begins generating the biochemistry of that state in advance. If your nervous system predicts threat, it begins flooding your system with cortisol and adrenaline before the threat has fully materialized. If your nervous system predicts safety, it begins down-regulating the stress response before the danger has fully passed. Your body is always living slightly in the future that your nervous system has predicted, which means that if you can change what your nervous system is predicting, you change your physiology. Not eventually, immediately. Not as a downstream effect, as the primary mechanism. And this is where the parallel self enters the picture not as metaphor, but as neurological tool. The version of you that has already crossed the threshold you are standing at. The version that made the decision you keep circling. That released what you have been holding, that stepped into the life you keep glimpsing from the edge of this one. That version carries a specific physiological signature, a specific nervous system state, a specific pattern of heart rate variability, cortisol rhythm, vagal tone, and interoceptive signal. Not a vague feeling of being better, a precise biological configuration. When you make contact with that configuration, when you let your nervous system feel into it deeply enough to begin predicting it as a near future state, your biology begins to shift toward it. The predictive processing system starts generating the biochemistry of that state. The nervous system begins reorganizing around the new prediction. This is the shock, not a metaphorical shock. A literal neurological reorganization event. And tonight, you are going to do this. Not by imagining your parallel self vaguely, by locating the precise physiological signature of the version of you that has already crossed, and by giving your nervous system enough contact with that signature to begin updating its predictions. One night is enough because the nervous system does not require repetition to update. It requires depth. A single deep encounter with a new state can reorganize the predictive model more completely than 100 shallow encounters. This is what trauma researchers know about why a single overwhelming experience can restructure the nervous system permanently. The same principle works in the other direction. A single deep contact with a radically different state, a state of crossing rather than staying, of having rather than wanting, of being on the other side rather than approaching it, can begin a reorganization that does not reverse. But before we get to the practice, I need to tell you something about the nature of the gate you are actually standing at. Because it is not the gate you think it is. There is a woman I want to tell you about. Her name is Mira. She is not a real person in the sense of being someone you could look up. She is a composite, a parable, built from the pattern of a threshold that almost everyone who ends up at a transmission like this one is standing at. But the pattern is real. The threshold is real. And the specific way she was stuck is the thing I need you to understand about yourself. Mira had been standing at the same gate for 3 years. She knew, with complete clarity, what was on the other side. She could describe it in detail. She had written about it in journals. She had talked about it with the people closest to her. She had visualized it in the way that self-development content had taught her to visualize, vividly, specifically, emotionally. She knew what it felt like to want the other side. She knew what it felt like to long for it. What she did not know was what it felt like to already be there. This is the distinction that most threshold work misses entirely, and it is the distinction that determines whether you cross or whether you circle. Wanting and having live in completely different parts of the nervous system. Wanting activates the dopaminergic anticipation circuit, the mesolimbic pathway, the system that generates the feeling of approaching something desirable. It is the system that fires when you see the food before you eat it. when you see the person before you touch them, when you see the life before you live it. It is a powerful system. It is motivating, but it is also neurologically a system that is designed to keep you approaching rather than arriving. The wanting circuit is not satisfied by arrival. It is satisfied by continued approach. When you arrive, the wanting circuit does not celebrate. It finds the next thing to want. If you have been visualizing your parallel self from a place of wanting, you have been feeding the wanting circuit. You have been making the approach feel more real, more vivid, more emotionally charged, and the wanting circuit has been doing exactly what it is designed to do, keeping you in a state of approach, keeping you at the gate, feeling the pull of what is on the other side, without crossing. This is not a failure of willpower. This is the nervous system doing its job correctly, given the signal it has been receiving. There is a man I want to place alongside Mira's story, because the contrast between them illuminates something that Mira's story alone cannot show you. His name is Daniel. He had been at a different kind of gate, not the gate of a life decision, not the gate of a relationship or a career, but the gate of a self-perception. For 11 years, Daniel had understood himself as someone who was almost ready to write the thing he had been carrying, almost ready to stop managing other people's expectations of him at the cost of his own direction, almost ready to stop explaining himself and simply move. He had done the work. He had been to the therapists, read the books, done the retreats. He understood, cognitively, every layer of why he was stuck. He could trace the origin of the pattern back to a specific kind of household, a specific kind of early messaging about what was permissible, what was safe, what would be rewarded. He had the map of the territory in extraordinary detail, but he had never stood inside the territory of the other side. He had never let his nervous system feel what it was like to be the version of him that had stopped explaining and simply moved. The map is not the crossing. Understanding why you are at the gate does not open it. And this is the thing Daniel eventually named in a single sentence that I want you to sit with. He said, "I have spent 11 years becoming an expert on my own hesitation. I have never spent 20 minutes practicing being someone who does not hesitate." That sentence is the gate for a very specific kind of person. The person who has done enough cognitive work to understand the pattern completely, and who has mistaken that understanding for proximity to the crossing. Understanding is proximity to the gate. It is not the crossing. The crossing is physiological. It happens in the body before it happens in the mind. And the body does not update through understanding. It updates through contact with a different state. Daniel spent 20 minutes in contact with the physiological signature of the version of himself who had already stopped explaining, not imagining what that version's life looked like, feeling what it felt like in his chest, his breath, his jaw, his hands, to be someone who had already decided that explanation was no longer the currency he was paying. He described the sensation as a kind of physical permission, as if a door inside his rib cage, one that had been held shut from the inside by a very careful, very vigilant hand, had simply been allowed to open. Not forced open, allowed. The hand that had been holding it had always been his own, and it had been holding it out of a prediction, a very old prediction, that opening it would cost him something he could not afford to lose. When his nervous system made contact with the state of having already opened it, and found that the catastrophe the old prediction had been protecting against did not materialize, the prediction updated. The hand released, not permanently, not completely, not in a single session. But the direction changed, and once the direction changes, the momentum is no longer working against you. Mira and Daniel arrived at the same crossing from different angles. Mira arrived through longing, through years of vivid wanting that had kept her in approach. Daniel arrived through understanding, through years of cognitive clarity that had kept him at the map without entering the territory. Both of them crossed through the same mechanism. Sustained contact with the physiological signature of having already decided. If this transmission is reaching you, please take a moment to like it and subscribe so more of this work can find the people who are ready for it. Now, let me tell you what the gate you are standing at actually is. Because this is where most threshold transmissions get vague, and vagueness is the enemy of crossing. The gate is not the external circumstance you think it is. It is not the job, the relationship, the move, the decision, the conversation you have been putting off. Those are the things on the other side of the gate. The gate itself is something internal. The gate is the moment where your nervous system stops running the old prediction model and starts running a new one. Every external threshold, every real-world change that you are standing at the edge of is preceded by an internal threshold. A state transition in your nervous system. A moment where the biological system that has been predicting one kind of future suddenly begins predicting a different kind. The external crossing follows the internal one, not the other way around. This is why people can make dramatic external changes and find themselves back in the same internal state within months. They crossed the external threshold without crossing the internal one. They changed the circumstances without changing the nervous system's prediction model. And the prediction model, running on its old frequency, pulled the new circumstances back into the shape of the old ones. And it is why people can make the internal crossing and find the external circumstances reorganizing around them with a speed that seems almost impossible, because the nervous system is now predicting a different future, and it is generating the biochemistry, the attention, the perception, the behavior, and the decisions that make that future more probable. The internal crossing is the gate. Everything else is downstream. And the internal crossing happens through exactly the mechanism I described. A deep encounter with the physiological signature of the version of you that has already crossed. A moment where your nervous system receives that signal clearly enough to generate a massive prediction error. A moment where the old model is disrupted and the new one begins to form. That moment is available tonight. Not eventually, tonight. Now let me tell you about the nervous system state you are likely currently in, because understanding it precisely is what makes the crossing possible. If you have been standing at a threshold for some time, if you have been circling a gate, approaching it and retreating, knowing what is on the other side but not crossing, your nervous system is almost certainly running in a state that the polyvagal theorist Stephen Porges would describe as a chronic low-grade mobilization response. Polyvagal theory, which Porges developed over several decades and which has been enormously influential in trauma therapy, describes three primary states of the autonomic nervous system. The first is the ventral vagal state, the state of social engagement, safety, and openness. This is the state where you are regulated, connected, curious, and capable of complex decision-making. The second is the sympathetic mobilization state, the fight or flight response, the state of activation, urgency, and threat response. The third is the dorsal vagal state, the shutdown state, the freeze response, the state of collapse and disconnection. Most people who are stuck at a threshold are not in full fight or flight, and they are not in full shutdown. They are in a chronic oscillation between the two, a state of low-grade mobilization that feels like anxiety, restlessness, or a kind of tense numbness. The sympathetic system is activated enough to generate the feeling that something is wrong, that something needs to change, that the gate is there and you are not crossing it. But it is not activated enough to produce the clarity and momentum of genuine action. And periodically, when the mobilization becomes too much, the dorsal vagal system pulls toward shutdown, toward numbness, toward the flatness of not feeling the gate at all. This oscillation is exhausting. It is the nervous system equivalent of standing at a gate with your hand on the handle, not opening it, not walking away, just holding the handle indefinitely. The physiological cost of this state is real. Chronic low-grade sympathetic activation suppresses the immune system. It elevates baseline cortisol, which interferes with memory consolidation, decision-making, and emotional regulation. It reduces heart rate variability, which is one of the most reliable markers of nervous system flexibility and resilience. It keeps the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for complex planning and self-regulation, in a state of partial inhibition, because the limbic system, which is running the threat response, takes priority over the prefrontal cortex when the nervous system perceives ongoing threat. The gate itself, the unresolved threshold, the decision not yet made, the crossing not yet taken, is registered by your nervous system as a chronic threat, not because crossing is dangerous, but because the uncertainty of the threshold, the sustained superposition of two possible states, is itself physiologically costly. The nervous system does not do well with sustained superposition. It is designed to resolve states, to collapse the wave function, to arrive at a definite outcome. Sustained uncertainty is stressful at the biological level. This is why hesitation at a gate costs more than crossing it. Not as a philosophical claim, as a physiological fact. The chronic mobilization of staying at the threshold is more costly to the body than the acute disruption of crossing it. And this is why one night of deep contact with the parallel self, with the version of you who has already resolved the superposition, who has already collapsed the wave function into a definite state, can begin a reorganization that weeks of gradual approach cannot produce. Because the nervous system is not looking for gradual. It is looking for resolution. The parallel self has resolved it. The parallel self is already on the other side. And when your nervous system makes contact with that resolution, it begins to understand that resolution is possible, that the superposition can collapse, that the gate can be crossed, and it begins, at the level of its predictive model, to predict that crossing. Now, I want to tell you something about the specific quality of the shock this contact produces, because understanding it will help you not to flinch away from it when it comes. When your nervous system encounters the signal of the parallel self, the first sensation is often not pleasant. It is often disorienting. Sometimes it feels like grief. Sometimes it feels like fear. Sometimes it feels like a kind of vertigo, as if the ground has shifted under you. This is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that the prediction error is real, that the signal is genuinely different from what the system has been predicting. And in the predictive processing framework, a large prediction error is not a problem. It is information. It is the system recognizing that its current model is insufficient to account for what it is receiving. The grief is real because on the other side of the gate, something ends. The version of you who has been standing at the threshold, who has been circling, who has been approaching and retreating, that version does not cross with you. It ends at the gate. And the nervous system, which has been identified with that version for however long you have been at this threshold, experiences its ending as a loss. Even when what you are crossing toward is clearly better. Even when the crossing is clearly the right thing. There is still a death at the gate. The death of the version of you who was approaching. The fear is real because the other side is unknown in a specific way. You can know what is on the other side intellectually. You can describe it. You can visualize it. but you cannot know it from the inside until you are inside it. And the nervous system, which is fundamentally a threat detection and survival system, is cautious about unknown territory. Even when the known territory is costing it more than the unknown would. The vertigo is real because state transitions are disorienting. Phase transitions in physics are marked by a brief period of instability. The moment when water is no longer ice, but not yet liquid. The moment when a system is between states. The crossing is that moment, and it is supposed to feel unstable. That instability is not a reason to retreat. It is the signature of the transition itself. When you feel the shock of contact with the parallel self, when you feel the grief or the fear or the vertigo, do not interpret it as a warning. Interpret it as confirmation. You are at the gate. The signal is real. The prediction error is happening. The reorganization has begun. Stay with it. Let it move through you. Let the nervous system update. This is what Mira did not do the first time. The first time she made contact with the feeling of having already crossed, she flinched. The disorientation was too much. She interpreted it as evidence that she was not ready, that she needed more preparation, more clarity, more time. She retreated from the gate and spent another 6 months in the chronic mobilization state, holding the handle without opening the door. The second time, she knew what the shock was. She had learned to recognize it as the signature of the transition rather than a warning against it. And she stayed with it. She let the prediction error run. She let the nervous system encounter the signal of the parallel self, without rushing to resolve the disorientation by retreating to the familiar model. And the reorganization happened. Not gradually, in a single night of sustained contact. One night is enough, not because the crossing is complete in one night, but because the direction of the nervous system's prediction model changes in one night. And once the direction changes, the momentum builds on its own. I want to pause here and ask you something. Has there been a moment in your life when you knew, without question, that you had crossed a point of no return? A moment when everything shifted at once, when the version of you that had been circling simply stopped and something new began? If that moment lives in you, leave it in the comments. Not the story of what happened, just what it felt like in your body when you knew you had crossed. Now, let me walk you through what the practice of making contact with the parallel self actually involves. Not in vague terms, in the specific physiological step-by-step terms that your nervous system can actually use. This practice has 4 phases. The first phase is locating your current state precisely. The second phase is finding the physiological signature of the parallel self. The third phase is sustained contact, which is where the shock happens. The fourth phase is integration, which is how the nervous system consolidates the new prediction model. Let me walk you through each one. The first phase: locating your current state precisely. Sit or lie down in a position where your body can be completely still. Not relaxed in the sense of collapsed, still in the sense of settled. Your spine can be long. Your chest can be open. Your hands can rest wherever they rest naturally. Now, without trying to change anything, take a full inventory of what your nervous system is actually doing right now. Not what you think it should be doing, not what you want it to be doing, what it is actually doing. Notice the quality of your breath. Is it shallow? Is it held slightly? Is it fast or slow? Is there a place in your chest or belly where the breath stops before it has fully arrived? Notice the quality of your muscle tension. Where are you holding? Jaw? Shoulders? The space between your shoulder blades? The muscles around your eyes? The place where your belly meets your ribs? Notice the quality of your thoughts. Are they moving quickly? Are they looping? Is there a background narrative running? A story about the threshold you are at? About what you should do? About what you have not yet done? Notice the quality of your emotional state. Not the name of the emotion, the texture of it. Where does it live in your body? What does it feel like as a physical sensation? Heavy? Tight? Buzzing? Flat? This inventory is not about judgment. It is about precision. You are locating the exact frequency your nervous system is currently running. The exact configuration of the version of you who is standing at the gate. Because you cannot leave a place you have not fully arrived at. You cannot cross from a threshold you have not fully acknowledged standing at. Take as long as this takes. 5 minutes. 10. Do not rush to the next phase. Let the inventory be complete. There is something important happening in this first phase that is easy to miss because it feels passive. It is not passive. The act of locating your current state with precision, without judgment, without the urgency to change it, is itself a shift in the nervous system. When you observe the mobilization state without trying to fix it, without adding the secondary layer of distress about being in distress, the sympathetic activation begins to modulate slightly. The system registers that it is being witnessed rather than fought. And witnessing is, in the polyvagal framework, a form of safety signal. The ventral vagal system responds to accurate, non-reactive attention. So the inventory is not just preparation for the practice. It is the first moment of the practice. What you are doing in phase 1 is giving your nervous system permission to be exactly where it is before asking it to go somewhere else. This matters because the system that has been running the chronic mobilization of the threshold has been doing so in part because it has never been fully acknowledged. The holding pattern at the gate is maintained partly by the refusal to fully feel what the holding pattern costs. When you do the inventory completely, when you let yourself feel the full texture of what it is to be the version of you standing at this gate, the system often releases a small amount of the holding, not because you have done anything to release it, but because you have finally looked at it directly. That small release is the first signal that the system is ready for the next phase. When you feel that you have located your current state precisely, when you can feel it as a specific, textured, physical reality, rather than a vague sense of where you are ready for the second phase. The second phase. Finding the physiological signature of the parallel self. This is where most people make the mistake Mira made in her first attempt. They try to imagine what the parallel self looks like, what their life looks like, what the external circumstances of the other side look like. They visualize the job, the relationship, the body, the home. They make the image vivid. They make it emotionally charged, and they feel the wanting. Do not do this, or rather, do not stop there. The external image is not the target. The physiological signature is the target. The specific, internal, somatic experience of being the version of you who has already crossed. Here is how to find it. Ask your body, not your mind, a specific question. The question is, what does it feel like to have already decided? Not to be deciding, not to be about to decide, to have already decided, to be living right now on the other side of the decision, to be the version of you for whom the threshold is already behind you. Let the question land in your body rather than your mind. Do not think your way to the answer. Feel your way to it. Notice what happens in your chest when you hold that question. Notice what happens in your breath. Notice what happens in your shoulders, your jaw, your belly. For most people, there is a specific sensation that arises when the nervous system begins to locate the physiological signature of having decided. It is often described as a kind of settling, a dropping, as if something that has been held slightly above its resting place finally comes to rest. The breath deepens, not because you are trying to breathe more deeply, but because the system has found a configuration where deeper breath is possible. The shoulders may drop, the jaw may release slightly. The background noise of the looping thoughts may quiet, not because you have silenced them, but because the system has found something more relevant to attend to. This settling is the beginning of the physiological signature. It is the nervous system recognizing, at a precognitive level, the frequency of having crossed. Stay with it. Let it develop. Do not grab for it. Do not try to make it more vivid or more intense. Just let it be what it is, and let it deepen on its own. As it deepens, you may begin to notice more specific sensations, a quality of spaciousness in your chest, a sense of weight in your hands, a grounded quality, as if your body has more contact with the surface beneath it, a quality of clarity in your visual field, even with your eyes closed, as if the internal imagery is sharper. A quality of warmth in your belly, not heat, but the specific warmth of a system that is no longer in chronic low-grade mobilization. These are not things you are making up. These are the physiological correlates of the ventral vagal state, the state of safety, engagement, and openness that becomes available when the nervous system stops running the threat response of the unresolved threshold. The parallel self, the version of you who has already crossed, is living in ventral vagal, and your nervous system, when it locates that frequency, begins to generate the physiological conditions of that state. There is a specific quality to the warmth in the belly that is worth describing more precisely, because it is one of the most reliable markers that the system has genuinely located the signature, rather than constructed an approximation of it. The warmth of the ventral vagal state is not the warmth of excitement or anticipation. It is not the warmth of the wanting circuit firing. It is quieter than that. It is more like the warmth of a room that has been heated for a long time, not the warmth of a flame being lit. It is ambient. It is already there when you arrive at it, rather than building as you approach it. If what you are feeling is building, intensifying, becoming more charged as you focus on it, that is more likely the wanting circuit than the signature of the parallel self. The signature of having already crossed is characterized by a quality of alreadiness. It does not build toward you. You arrive into it. This distinction matters because the wanting circuit and the having state can feel similar from a distance. They are both emotionally positive. They both feel like movement toward something good. But the wanting circuit has an urgency to it, a lean, a reaching quality. The having state has a settledness, a weight, a quality of already being where you were reaching toward. When you find the second quality, the alreadiness, you have found the signature. Let this develop for as long as it takes. There is no correct speed. Some people find the signature quickly. For others, it takes longer because the prediction model of the current state is strong and the nervous system keeps pulling back to it. If you find yourself pulled back into the inventory of your current state, the tension, the looping thoughts, the chronic mobilization, do not fight it. Simply return to the question: what does it feel like to have already decided? And let the body find its way back to the signature. When the signature is clear, when you can feel it as a distinct, textured, physical reality, you are ready for the third phase. The third phase. Sustained contact. This is where the shock happens. This is the phase that most people either skip or rush through, and it is the phase that determines whether the contact produces a reorganization or just a temporary pleasant sensation that fades within hours. Sustained contact means staying with the physiological signature of the parallel self for long enough that your nervous system stops treating it as a novel signal and starts treating it as a familiar one. Long enough that the prediction model begins to update. Long enough that the system stops generating the prediction error of the old model and starts generating the prediction error of the new one. In practical terms, this means staying in the physiological signature for a minimum of 20 minutes of uninterrupted contact. Not 20 minutes of dipping in and out. 20 minutes of sustained presence with the specific somatic experience of having already crossed. This is hard, not because the sensation is unpleasant, because the old prediction model will keep asserting itself. Your nervous system has been predicting the current state for however long you have been at this threshold. It has a strong prior, and strong priors do not give way without sustained pressure from a different signal. The way to maintain sustained contact is not to grip the sensation of the parallel self. Gripping is itself a form of the old prediction model, the tense, mobilized, effortful state of the threshold. The way to maintain sustained contact is to keep returning, gently and without frustration, each time the old model asserts itself. The old model will assert itself as thoughts, as the looping narrative about the threshold, as the mental list of reasons why you have not yet crossed, as the internal debate about whether you are ready. When these thoughts arise, you do not need to engage them or dismiss them. You simply notice that they are the old model asserting itself, and you return to the question, what does it feel like to have already decided? And you let the body find the signature again. The old model will assert itself as sensations, as the return of the tension, the shallowness of breath, the tightness in the chest or belly. When these sensations arise, you do not need to fight them. You simply notice them as the old model, and you return to the question. Each return is not a failure. Each return is the practice. The nervous system updates through the repeated contrast between the old signal and the new one. Each time you return to the signature of the parallel self after a pull toward the old model, you are giving the system another data point, another piece of evidence that the new signal is real, is available, is a genuine future state rather than an imagined one. 20 minutes of this, 20 minutes